Hey everybody, this is Chris. Welcome back to Wizard Way. I have been asked to do a bit of a tutorial on my photo editing process for Wizards Unite AR Plus pictures. So here is an example. I'm gonna walk you guys through what I do and try not to get too long-winded in the process. So this is one of the AR pictures that I took during my latest live stream. When Adversaries first came out, I happened to find this particular trace of Fred Weasley and Angelina, and I really wanted to take some pictures with them just because of how perfect this is with like the snow falling and everything. It's a perfect winter shot. So I wanted to edit this. We've got some fun details here, like just all the snow around everywhere. We have some puffed breath from Angelina, and I really like this sort of upward expression that she has, just, you know, looking at the weather. It's just super cute. So this is the photo that we're going to mess with. So let's open up the share, and we're going to click on Snapseed. This is my chosen photo editing app. Luckily, because this was an actual shot taken from the Wizards Unite software, it means that I don't have any of, like, for example, these, you know, my orange madness here of my recording, or, you know, just any of this overlay stuff. None of that appears on the actual picture, unlike a screenshot where I have to get a little bit more creative with cropping and just, you know, knowing in advance that I'm going to have to do a little bit more maneuvering to get all of, you know, like my camera stuff from the live stream and everything out of the frame. So don't have to worry about that, which is great. So we do have these options down here to change things up. The portrait is usually pretty nice when I have actual subjects with faces, but in the case of darker skinned individuals, it doesn't make things pop the way I like, so I usually don't use it. So for someone like Angelina, it just won't do them justice. So we're not going to use that, but looking at accentuate, that does give us a nice little pop to the color of the Weasley's hair here, as well as deepening the purple of her dress. Kind of liking that. Ooh, the faded glow filter's nice, though. So I'm probably going to go with this, and I'll show you guys like why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. So I like this faded glow because it actually desaturates the image a little bit. Really liking that. So there's the original versus with the filter. It darkens up those storm clouds too, which I actually really like, contrasted with the blue sky behind it. So we're gonna go with that filter. I don't always use one of these pre-done filters, but let's go into tools and we'll tune the image from here. I'm gonna increase the brightness a little bit, bump up the contrast. I actually am going to resaturate it a bit. Reason being, we will be using a different kind of filter in a moment, and that will mess with things. We also have the option of increasing the ambience, which is all of the texture in the background, or decreasing it. But this is one of those things that makes the portrait preset kind of problematic, because it really decreases your ambience, which it doesn't help people of color. So we're probably going to leave the ambience alone. And I feel a sneeze coming on. We'll try to ignore that. You can mess with the shadows, with the midtones, with the highlights. You can also mess with the warmth. So if you were doing a summer scene, you could make it warmer just to add more heat to the image, or you can do the opposite and cool it down a little bit. We will probably be using a filter that automatically takes away some of the warmth, but let's just do like a minus. Between 5 and 10 would be fine, I think. Yeah, let's go with 10. So again, before, after. Very different. This sort of effect where the clouds are suddenly dark instead of light, this program also does that with pixie wings. So if I'm taking pictures of pixies, it often does the same thing, where the white wings become black instead, which I kind of like. I think it's a different aesthetic choice. I'm a fan. So next thing we're going to be doing is any healing work. Let's see if we have to heal anything. So looking at the background, we have we have caution tape around the tree. So I'm going to see if I can basically doctor some of that away. So at least it's not as noticeable. So we're just trying to mess with it a little bit until things can be just a little bit better. We can always color correct this area too if we really, really want to. But I think that even that is an improvement. So let's do that, and then we'll actually press on it again. Where did it go? Healing, there it is. So you can do multiple rounds of healing. You can zoom in. I think this is as much as it's going to allow me to zoom in. And if I want to, I can basically desaturate the yellows, which we'll probably do in a separate step really, really quickly. So it does mess with the texture and basically do a stamping effect, which you would normally do in Photoshop and probably do better than this. But again, this is a phone app, and this is just a quick, easy edit. So in order to desaturate things, I'm going to use selective, and we're going to basically place this over the yellow, and saturation, we can turn it down a little bit. So that's going to help desaturate just those yellow tones a little bit. We can pick and choose a little bit just to make it a little less obvious what we're doing here. The red is basically showing what tones it's actually changing in the image. So it's changing everything around the tree. Let's see if that's good. That helps. That helps a lot. So it's there still, but it's a way more subtle, and it's not going to be the focal point of the image. If I could, I would also try to take this trash can out. If I really wanted to get ambitious, I would try to take the trash can out that's sticking out of Angelina's head there. But for time's sake, we're not gonna bother with it too much. It's bugging me though. Let's go in with healing and see if it makes a difference, or if it's just gonna leave a really spotty. Yeah, the problem is that when you look at that blur, now her head is all blurry on the top, and I'm not a fan. Not a fan. So we're going to X that out. We're just going to pretend like the trash can isn't there. It's going to bug me, but we'll be fine. Okay, next step. What do we want to do next? I think next thing we'll do is portrait. See, it says it can't find any faces. It lies. Try harder? No. Okay. It won't use it unless it actually sees people's faces. Because we have them not fully facing the camera in this particular shot, the software can't find them. That's okay. Instead, let's go to Grunge. So this is my favorite little style effect that they do in this app. The button I'm going to be pressing is right here, and that gives me random. It's just randomized. With the various styles, they go from like 1 to 1500. So there are different textures, different overlays. All this is doing is changing the overtones, midtones, the highlights, the shadows. It's going to give different overtones to all of those things. And each style is different. So you can really customize if you want some cool tones. And basically you adjust the brightness, contrast, saturation, and then the strength of the texture, which is another overlay that this adds, thus it being a grunge filter. So in this case, I don't want any texture strength. You could really go overboard with it if you wanted to. But in my case, I tend to just leave it alone. No texture needed. Saturation, most of these are really desaturating everything, but you can bump it back up to 100 where it's going to be pretty brightly colored. In our case, I kind of like it. I kind of like it with just not too much saturation. Only reason I hesitate on this is because I really like the purple of her dress, and I don't want to completely lose that. One thing I could do is, prior to doing anything in the grunge filter, let's see where we're at. This is style 296. Okay, so 296, I'm just going to remember that. But if we exit out in advance, I can use a different tool, like the brush tool, and basically up the saturation. We'll just do it by 5 instead of by 10. But we can up just the saturation of her dress. You can see it slowly getting like a brighter purple color to it. So if we do this in advance, then when we put on the filter, you'll still be able to see the purple a little bit more easily. So this, I'm just brushing my finger back and forth over it. It takes a couple repetitions with your finger to actually bring out the full brightness. So you can do this a lot or a little. In this case, you can see the difference there. That's without it, and that's with it. So that's all I'm looking for, just to up that color a little bit so that when we go back into grunge, and what was it? It was 260 something? I can't remember. I should have written it down. But once again, you can just, go through until you find something that you like. Sometimes doing those really yellowed colors and desaturating everything will make it look like an old photograph. So I have used that style before. There are a bunch of different things you can do. That's the fun part. Especially when you have a blue sky to work with or a really overcast sky to work with, these different overlays are really going to change the tone of the sky. And then if you put the saturation all the way up, you'll see, like in this case, it's more of a teal. It's a teal sky. But we can change that based on which style we end up going with. So this is one thing that I just really love playing around with, and I could spend 10 minutes just doing this. So let's see what I like. We kind of liked it. It was further down in like the 200 section, wasn't it? Oh gosh. Basically it goes through all sorts of different midtones and overtones, so you can really customize. If you want things to have more of a purple hue, or, in this case it's much more green, but you can really, really have fun with it. I kind of like that. Might go with that and change brightness a little bit. Again, texture off. Don't need it. So you can really mess with this and get just the coloring that you want. Yeah, upping that purple contrast, the saturation in the purple dress has really, really helped in this case. So we can really mess with things. In this case, I'm not sure what I want to do. Let's take a quick look. I actually kind of like this desaturated moment going on here, because I like to make it look like there's, this snowstorm coming in. A little bit of the darkness and cooler toned, whereas this is a bit warmer, this is a bit cooler. Kind of liking that. But let's mess with the brightness a little bit. You can increase the contrast a lot or a little, whatever looks right for the image. In this case, we don't want to go too overboard. Saturation, that's with saturation all the way up. That's with it all the way down. So I'm kind of liking it slightly desaturated. You can still see the purple because we upped that saturation prior. And again, 0 texture strength. So that's before, that's after. Much more dramatic. Like, you can look at the tones in the sky, you can look at the grass hues, everything's different. It makes those shadows on the ground pop a little bit more. Much more dramatic. I actually really like that. So we save that, and let's see. I also like to add a bit of Glamour Glow. This will really fuzz out a lot of the background, and you can basically adjust how much that filter does as well. But it's going to blur a lot of the darks and the lights, so you just have to be careful with it. And in this case, we don't want it to mess with the saturation too much. So maybe like a -10 there. It's also cooling the image, but I actually like that. Again, we're going for that nice cold winter's day look. And the glow, I don't tend to do it all the way. You can. This is super, super stylized. I mean, that's like nighttime almost. Like a moonlit walk almost. It just really pops the contrast a bit too much for me. My happy place is anywhere from 20 to 45, maybe even 50, depending on the image. So 50 seems a little bit much here. but I don't want to go below like 40 in this particular case. So let's just split the difference. I think 45 is a nice happy medium here for us. The thing I like about this image is we've got dark up top and dark below. So it really sort of highlights the center of the image all on its own. And again, this is, you know, in contrast to the original, where everything's a little bit muted, the colors don't really pop much, and then boom, huge difference. Last thing that I would do, if I really wanted to, I could do a lens blur, which is kind of nice. You have to keep in mind when you're doing AR plus pictures, especially with encounters with adversaries, that actually already has a blur on the upper portion of the image, or if you turn your phone, it's on one side. I don't know why they implemented that and why it's just a thing in AR pictures in the game, but when you're able to just take a normal picture, it won't blur everything. Like if you're doing a picture from the registry page, if it's something that you can actually take a picture of, it won't automatically use that blur, which is super helpful. But if you wanted to stylistically use it, you can also add one here if you want to. In my case, I don't feel it's necessary. We already have a little bit of that going just from the image itself. What I would like to do, probably my final thing to do to this image, is I would like to do a vignette. And this you can really mess with things. So I like having a bigger circle, and then outer brightness, I can turn it all the way down if I want to. Again, that's going to basically take out all of the color from the corners of the image. So if I was lightening it, it would be there. This is normal, and then that's with it all the way darkened. But the nice thing about this tool is even if you don't end up blurring, putting darkness around the edges, you can do inner brightness and basically spotlight certain areas. So in this case, I want a little bit more light on Angelina's face. I can increase the interior brightness. So you can kind of see, just if I move it around, you can see how much it actually does. It doesn't seem like it's doing too much, but then finished product, it looks really nice. So again, without and with. It does make a difference. So I like having just a little bit more light on her. Probably just keep it at like 45. I'm liking the number 45 in this. So again, without and with. So that's probably all I would do to this particular image. I really like the lines of the shadows of the trees, and I like having the dark clouds instead of the light ones. Really adds a lot of contrast to the image, and it really makes the little tiny snowflakes pop a bit more. So this is what I would do with this particular image. You can go a million different ways with your photo editing, and this particular app, Snapseed, is just my favorite little tool that I use. So hopefully that was informative. I hope you guys like seeing some of my process. This turned out way longer than I was expecting, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And yeah, please look forward to this and several other images that I will be releasing for the rest of my 12 days of AR for December. Final day will be on Christmas Day. So I hope you guys enjoy my AR pictures, and certainly if you have any questions, let me know. I will see you guys next time. Bye!